Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very, very special evening here. Well, not just evening, week, actually, on Chess 24. I'm delighted to be joined by a bunch of great minds. It is Battle of the Minds. This week, we are embracing the beauty of not only the game we all are perhaps best known for, but also another game that we're all at least, and I say this, at least aficionados of. And that is the wonderful game of poker, where this week there's going to be a bunch of matches with well-known chess players also trying their hand at making a hand. I didn't even rehearse that beforehand. Wow. And I even threw another hand in there. I'm going to hand it over now to my main man, a guy who I've played probably a hand of poker with under the influence of certain thing that I'm not going to talk about. I think we played a few hands of poker before, Simon. Isle of Man sounds familiar. Can't quite recall, probably for a good reason. Simon Williams, the one and only Ginger GM. How are you, mate?
I'm good, Lawrence. Thank you for the lovely introduction there, or introduction, shall I say? Yeah, we have played a bit of poker. I mean, I first learnt poker at the age of 15. At the Hastings chess tournament, the longest ever running chess tournament by Chris Duncan, who I'm sure you know. He taught us a 7-card stud, I think it was.
There we go.
Playing since, but I wouldn't say I'm in the same standard as you guys at poker. I'm a little bit too rash, maybe. But enough of that. We're not here to talk about my rubbish poker. It's going to be a great day today. We got two major names, obviously legends of both games, and I believe that the setup today, and this is what's going to be happening and what we're going to be watching, we're going to kick off with a 3+1 blitz game, which is worth of chess, which is worth 1 point. And then straight away after that, this is a bit like chess boxing, but chess poker.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
It's who do you reckon would win out of chess boxing between those two? Shall we? We'll ask him in a minute, yeah.
We'll start that in a minute. That's another thing.
And maybe out of us two as well, Lawrence. That could be interesting because you're training, right? But anyway, we then go to a hyper turbo heads up for 1 point.
That's poker. That's no limit hold'em, I believe, or is it? I believe it is. You'll correct me if I'm wrong. We'll soon find out. Okay.
Yeah, it is. No limit hold'em, I believe. And then the second part of it, so it's broken down in 3 parts. The second part, 5+2 blitz game, and that's for 2 points, double the points, chess. Then they move back to the poker, a turbo heads up game for 2 points. And then the third section is, wow, that's a complicated one, Lawrence. So the third section is a combination, right?
Yeah, it's a 10+10 chess 960. So that's Fischer random chess. And then this is where it gets really exciting. My love, the game of pot limit Omaha. A lot of people who play poker watching this love the game of no limit hold'em. That's the most famous, the one where you get 2 cards. Pot limit Omaha, you get 4 cards. It's a completely different game, but these two, I can tell you, are experienced, serious Omaha players. I mean, we're talking about guys who have done immense work on it. And actually, without further ado, we should really introduce the guys we're talking about, aren't we? Because we haven't really spoken to them. I am absolutely delighted to introduce, first of all, a man who has inspired me for years, a man who I've had the honor of hanging out with, a man who I've had the honor of commentating with, a man who I've had the honor of getting absolutely brutally beaten in 15 moves by in the Bundesliga a few years ago, and a man who is the darling of Russian chess, 8 times Russian champion, the one and only Paul Borter, aka Grandmaster Peter Svidler. Welcome, Peter.
Hello, everyone. I wasn't supposed to say that, though, yeah. It's copyrighted.
Oh, that's copyright, is it? Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, apologies. Send the letter to my lawyer, the Ginger GM. The next wonderful person we've got to come and play today is a legend in so many ways. It would take me a long way to list them all. He's one of the most exciting, charismatic chess players of a generation. He's somebody who's got a wicked sense of humor and a delight to commentate with, but he's also a serious winning poker player. This is not a, this is not just some whimsical comment. He has crushed online high stakes for years. He's played live in World Series events and European Tour events, and is a fan favorite. It's the one and only Mr. Alexander. I tried to insert something there, but I'm going to say Alexander the Killer Grischuk. Is that all right?
Good evening.
I think Thug Life, Alexander Thug Life Grischuk. You've seen those Thug Life
Yes,
YouTube
I'm
videos,
happy.
right?
Yes,
We'll go with the Alexander Thug Life Grischuk. How are you both?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, ready for some chess and poker action? You've actually done something already, but not against each other, right? You were playing in teams.
No, we were sort of playing against each other, but
Okay.
Together with some poker professionals, so it wasn't.
Have you guys ever played high stakes poker together in a ring game or whatever, or heads up?
We played some poker against each other, but not much. No.
I think Peter never played high stakes poker, so we couldn't play against each other.
That would be a fair description.
Sasha, do you still? Because I know you were playing very seriously poker at some point. Are you still playing, or what's your situation with poker?
No, like in video game, I can play sometime, but just for fun.
Okay. And Peter, are you still giving it a whirl from time to time?
I'm mostly retired, but yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. And you're going to be playing, I believe, Omaha. We'll go over the rules of that a bit more when we get to that game. So the format is great. It's a mix of chess. It's a mix of poker. Blitz is going to be fast and furious and fun. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing this. I mean, getting to commentate on poker, Simon, I mean, for me, it's been a dream of mine. And finally, the dream has come. And I'm absolutely honored to be able to do it with two actual, stars of both
Lawrence,
games.
You're getting that. I can see you're a natural. I can see this is where you want to go with your career.
I will just say, watch out, Stapes. Watch out, Jesse May, Hartigan, and the rest of you, Gabe Kaplan. I'm here. No, I am just thrilled to see this beautiful mix. And I just want to point out as well, shout out to Party Poker for the collaboration, because we're doing this with Party. They've been brilliant. Great platform, of course. And one of the big ideas is we want you guys, if you enjoy poker, to sign up, play on Party Poker, but please do it in a responsible way. Because poker, after all, is a form of gambling, although there's a large percentage of skill compared to other gambling. But please be responsible and only play within your limits. Gamble responsibly.
Very nice, Lawrence. Very nice.
Something that myself and Simon probably haven't done at various points in our lives.
Yeah, probably not. But I reckon we should let these guys play. So I'm really excited. So what we're going to do, we're just going to leave the main call here for everyone, and we'll be back again with the first game of Blitz. Good luck to you both. Have some fun. And I guess we'll do that now, Loz.
Yep. See you soon.
1 live.
Okay, you can start.
All right, everybody, welcome back. So we are set, ready to go, and they are off. It is Paul Borter, aka Peter Svidler, playing white against Alexander Grischuk. The first game, a 3 minutes +1 blitz game for 1 point. Simon, the English. Hello. You've played this a few times.
I have. It started off 2 moves of the English, but it's warped now into, the King's Indian Defence, which I think we've both played as well. I mean, these guys must have played so many times before. I mean, this time limit 3+1 is quite a common one. It's the quickest one they're going to play. The English, I mean, King's Indian Defence, quite an exciting opening. What do you play nowadays, Loz? Actually, you play the King's Indian anymore?
I play anything. I play anything that doesn't mean I lose
rubbish.
in 10 moves. Yeah. Oh, well, here we go.
Oh yes, come on, Peter. Oh, love it. Well, I'm all over this, Lawrence. And the funny thing is, I think I was one of the first people to play this H4 move in that position. I played it quite often, and H5's a nice way to just block that one up, stop the pawn from moving forwards. But this is, the idea is just to use that H-pawn to create some weaknesses over there. And it was actually, when I first started playing it, Loz, it was kind of laughed upon, the Harry attack. But then it's become quite popular nowadays, right? It's become like a main line. So
I mean, basically, it's seen everywhere, not just in this system. It's just seen everywhere against the Grunfeld, you can play it pretty much anywhere, even in some very orthodox openings like the Queen's Gambit declines. It's a serious move, and it's really thanks to the development in AI and the engines that started playing it that really confirmed that actually throwing this pawn up the board, not just to attack.
Dude, I was doing it before Alpha Zero.
You were, mate. You were doing a lot of things before.
And everyone just laughed. I was doing it. But Alpha Zero, you're right, was this super strong computer which had some brilliant games, right, where it used its H-pawn mainly to just push his opponents, his computer opponents, backwards. So it's not always an attacking move, H4, and it's often used actually just to cramp the opponent. And Alpha Zero often got the pawn to H6, and in certain positions it's more effective, right, Loz? Especially when black's fianchettoed, I'd say. Yeah.
Completely agree. So it's a space gainer, but we see Sasha Grischuk taking on a very sort of old school approach to this big center, playing A6 and C6, basically saying, I want to play the move pawn to B5 at the right moment now. Which will have the idea of pawn to b4, and then the pawn on e4 is a little bit loose. It's going to be interesting to see. And Peter does decide to just put an end to it with a4, and I expect Sasha to play a5 here. That's the standard response to secure the b4 square for the knight. You don't want to allow white to play a5 most of the time here, unless he wants to do something more spectacular, but I can't really see it. And he does go a5.
A5 is definitely the move. And the point of this maneuver that black's lost the tempo is you get the knight, as Lawrence said, to b4, lovely square for the knight. I actually had this very similar thing against the great Korchnoi once, where I did this idea, and it's always a bit debatable because you give away this square forever, but you do stop this counterplay with b5, and this square is very, how do you get rid of that knight? It's very tough to get rid of it. I might even expect, do you think you'll get rid of this knight here? Bishop takes h3. Okay, he doesn't. Potentially that was an idea, because this knight comes back to f2. And then if white wants to be super aggressive, he can try to play g4. But okay, the knight actually comes to c5. So also a very good square of immediate threat, knight b3 loss.
Yeah, he's got to deal with knight b3. That's a winning threat. You can play moves. Queen c2 doesn't feel right because you put the queen on the c file, and you can take and put a rook on bishop b7, rook c8. I expect bishop b1, just as I was saying. I expect bishop b1. Very typical maneuver in this position. You actually reposition the bishop. But now white's got a few issues with this king. Is he just going to go knight f2, or is he going to double protect b3 here and go rook a3? Just put a stop to knight b3 in its totality. And claim then he's going to rejig his position with knight f2 and then finally castle. Tricky spot, actually. Probably.
Look at the time as well. I'm just saying.
Seconds. Yeah, he does get
9 o'clock.
But
I think you're right. I mean, I think black is very, very comfortable here. Yeah. I mean, knight f2 looks like a sensible move. You've got to try to get castle. This g4 stuff is just far too ambitious with black being so active, and queen b4, very natural move.
Wow.
You threaten this pawn, and he's given up the pawn. So now Sasha can take that pawn. But I suppose Peter has some ideas of capturing and then coming into d6. That's one idea if there's not something else. So I still think it's all right for white here, Loz, but I'd also think black's made some quite decent progress. Other ideas black has is like knight h7 and then f5. And f5 is a typical push, isn't it, in the king's Indian defense?
Got to be a little bit careful moving that knight because white's got this annoying bishop e7 intermediate move, hitting the rook and hitting the pawn on d6. So you've got to time that quite well. And this is a kind of tricky position also for Sasha because he does go cd5. Now, I just thought, can he go bishop f6, knight d5? If the queen wasn't protected on b4, you can't actually do it. You drop the queen here, but it doesn't quite work. It's these sort of tactics that you have to look out for all the time. Doesn't work, so he just took back and bishop d7. And you're right. I think he's very, very solid here. Rook fc8 now would be a typical move, which he plays. I think black's got an ideal King's Indian. Finally, rook a3. And now you kind of need a decent move here with black. So how do we get some more people? He goes king h7, which is a very decent improving move. Rook e1. Now, is he going to try? I mean, this is where, knight g8. I was about to say I
think you got to get this f5 move. F5's the real lever. And I mean, I still think this is kind of in the balance. And the other idea is king h7. Is to get rid of that dark square bishop, because the dark square bishop can be good, but it can also be very bad stuck behind a pawn.
This is absolutely classic stuff, though, by Sasha Grishuk. The way he's playing this, he's also massively up on the clock.
The clock's so important now, isn't it? I mean, they do get 1 second to move, but I think black is obviously at least fine here, maybe a little bit better, but it's not terrible for white either.
Wow, look at this maneuver.
Okay, very interesting.
He just said, I'm not interested in exchanging those bishops. Very curious maneuver. I don't know about it. Knight f6. Okay. Still prefer black. Rook c5. Pawns on dark squares versus pawns on light squares.
Maybe now white has this idea again, the rook to b3, maybe the rook into b6, attacking this way, which could be good. I mean, I may even prefer white here, because this suddenly this rook's become extremely active, and it does come into b6. You put on the defensive, and white suddenly got the pressure here all of a sudden.
Yep.
So, but the time 4 seconds versus 2. Oh my words! Look at the time. Oh, is he?
B7 into mess. King g5. He gets there just in time.
Just in time.
Bishop a6. What's he going to do? King f4. And
he's lost on time. He's lost on time there, and. You can see a bit of emotion there, Loz, but that was. I mean, they actually maybe moved a bit too slowly. They got to move a little bit quicker than that. But the next games they're going to get a longer time limit. But that was a weird one because if we go back around here, as Loz mentioned, black must be doing absolutely fine, but maybe just absolutely fine, maybe not more than absolutely fine. And we got to wonder where it went wrong. And I have to say, around here, I really don't think it's that bad for white because white's got this square. But I didn't like Sasha's maneuver because what is the bishop doing there? It's blocked in by the pawn on d5, and I don't see why that bishop went there, to be honest. But it's quite hard here, Loz, to see how black can actually get counterplay. So maybe a little bit deceptive, this position.
Yeah, I think Peter did well to exchange the queens, relieve a bit of the pressure. I didn't buy this maneuver, bishop d7, bishop f7 by Sasha. Thought that was a little bit slow. Thought he should have just got on with business there, played knight f6, bring the knight back. But, fair enough. Yeah. Peter wins on time. So 1 point to Peter. Now, are we going to the poker next, or is it the next Blitz game?
It's poker next. So the next one is quite exciting. It's going to be Hyper Turbo Heads Up tournament, and I love these ones. I got quite addicted to them at some point in my life. Where you start with 500 chips, but we'll see that in a minute. It's going to be very, very exciting. You have to push quite a lot. We'll just say that. Maybe another thing I will just say about the chess here. I mean, I know we mentioned this knight on h3. I mean, to me, taking on h3 may have been actually a very decent option there, because if you do go a little bit further along, this knight actually just seemed to be such a great piece. I just want to compare the position here. This knight defends everything, and actually was the knight's thing. So I think there's a real argument in this opening to take on h3, but of course I don't know hardly as much as Sasha there. And who's going to win the poker then, do we feel?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, these guys are both super strong. They've got some experience. They've even done some solver work from the last time, I believe, which basically means for all of you guys, because a lot of people, Simon, are tuning in who've just done chess, but basically in poker now, which is ultimately a maths-based game, they also have solvers, which are the equivalent of chess engines, and you can find out what is effectively the best play in every position, especially when it's heads up, which is what they're playing. Heads up has pretty much been solved, as far as I understand, in the no limit.
Okay. So how do you practice? I've never heard of this actually.
Well,
so
you basically have what you basically have is basically a computer program where you can play against it, for example, and it just tells you what the optimum strategy, the optimum bet size is, the optimum raise size is in any position.
Okay.
And you also get kind of it constructs what's called ranges for you. And
so can you use these while you actually play?
Well, you can use, if you're playing online, of course, nobody can tell if you're using them or not, but it's not quite the same as using an engine, because obviously
the advantage is not as big because of the luck factors, right? And
because you still, even if you put your money in as 4-1 favorite, you can still lose.
Yeah.
But basically, go on.
I suppose there's a lot of unknown factors as well. In chess, there's not really any unknown factors, but a computer in poker, it still can't. It doesn't know what your opponent's holding. Obviously.
No, but the way it's constructed is that it kind of says it's irrelevant what your opponent is holding. This is mathematically the best thing you can do.
Okay.
And if you play a large volume of hands over your lifetime, if you continued playing the optimal play over hundreds of thousands, millions of hands, you're going to show a really good profit, because it doesn't matter, because this play is designed against whatever your opponent does.
So if you knew someone was using this computer laws, could you play in a certain way against that computer? Because you'll know what it will do in every situation. Well, so if I run the computer next to me and I'm playing, I know what the computer will do. So I'll have a head start on the computer when I'm playing poker, because it will do the same.
No, it depends. I mean, you might. So if you both use the solver at the same time, well, I guess maybe.
Well, no. If I know my opponent's using the solver, and I'm playing against someone who I know is using the solver, but I know what the solver will tell him to play, right?
But you can't know that because it's just way too. There are too many complex. There are millions upon billions of iterations. You just can't memorize all the spots.
But if his cards come up though, and I'm playing heads up, then I'll be able to. I'll be running the same thing as he would, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can both run a solver at the same time, I guess. But as I say, you might have different solvers. They might be on different parameters. I mean, it's not as straightforward as it looks. But I mean, people don't really do that anyway. Right. They try and run certain simulations.
I can't imagine I can't imagine. I reckon you're more of an emotional player. Is that right? You strike me as.
They say there are two kinds of players. There's a game theory optimal player, which is all of this solver stuff, GTO, or an exploitative player, which is somebody who exploits the situation at hand. I'm definitely more. I think the correct word is it's a field player. I'm a field player. Yeah. I know when you're weak.
I know other words for that, but yes, I would say I'm certainly a field player. So a field player could also mean someone who just feels the right time, maybe uses some little I could say even tells a bit more than a solver would, I guess, even though I guess tells in poker are not that great.
Now I can reveal, while I don't know if Sasha, and I don't know if Peter is listening to this, I hope not, but I've played a lot of poker with Peter. We've played a lot of poker. We had a little home game going on during Corona with Peter and a few other VIP guests. And I can tell you, Peter was one of the big winners in the game, unsurprisingly, over many, many weeks. He was a good laugh. When Corona was on, you can't play the live poker, so everybody was online on Zoom, giving each other a bit of needle on Zoom. So that was
Can you let us into who the other players were, or is this like VIP secret Trent Society stuff?
No, it's not secret. I mean, I'll clear it with them, but there's certainly everybody very well. Let's put it like that, Simon. There are a few English guys
I can probably guess some of them, or one of them.
You can certainly guess one of them. Yeah. In fact, he might be featuring later this week.
He might be featuring later this week. So
that was good fun. So Peter can play. I've never played. Hold on a second.
So is Hold'em? Were you playing Hold'em? And obviously, everyone today, the next game is going to be Texas Hold'em, which is the most common form of poker nowadays, the one you see on TV, and basically I think everyone's had some experience with. But you play Omaha more right now?
I play a bit. I mean, in our home game, we were playing mostly Hold'em, but Omaha is my game, and I play a very sick version of it where it's kind of the
high-low. Do you play?
I play high-low, but I play 6-card. That is my pure niche. So
you have to show us that later, because we got the Omaha later, so you can explain that. So I guess we are, by the way, just waiting for the players.
We're just getting some technical stuff done, but they'll be playing No Limit Hold'em. Just to go over the rules very quickly, you get 2 cards in your hand, and you have to make the best 5-card combination with. There are 5 cards come on the board. You can use 2 from your hand, you can use 1 from your hand, or sometimes you don't even use 1 from your hand. Sometimes the best 5 cards are actually on the board, aka the community cards, and the hand rankings of poker are the same. So Royal Flush is the best, and Ace High or a high card is the worst. Heads Up Poker is a very different form of poker. Heads Up Poker is a very heavily analyzed format with the people who are really crushing it have done insane amounts of work on it. And basically, compared to a full ring game, Simon, which you and I are more kind of used to, with Heads Up Poker, of course, you play a lot more pots, basically, right? So when you and me sit down and there are 8 people around, well, you just play any 2 cards. You don't care, mate. You just throw it in there.
I prefer. I think my favorite amount is about 5-6 players. I mean, 10 players is a bit slow if you want to play it properly, but I like doing some wild things, mixing it up a little bit, because one thing I find poker, it's a great game, but if you play it by the book, there is a lot of waiting. I'm too impatient. I like doing some random raises, but you got to know when to fold, you got to know when to raise. The thing with Heads Up, which I have to say I'm certainly not an expert in at all. Not an expert in any of them, but certainly not Heads Up. And this one is hyper turbo. But just in general, in Heads Up, I think you gotta be very well in poker. You got to be very aggressive. And if you've got an ace, you got to push. And you got to take the bull by its horns. Is that in hyper turbo because you'll get anteed out so much? I mean,
probably not that simplistic, but one thing for sure is you've got to play the majority of hands. They're playing a hyper turbo, which it means that the blinds structure goes up very quickly. It means you don't get that many chips in the end. It means you have to play fast and quick and aggressive. But in general, when they play the turbo Heads Up, which is a bit slower, a lot of players are going to be playing from the button. When they have the dealer button, they're going to be playing the majority of their hands. So you just play a lot more hands. You have to make thinner calls. You have to bluff catch more. You have to do all of this kind of stuff in Heads Up in order to be successful. You can't just fold because you're just leaking money that way. Now, I've been told that we're just sorting out the poker stuff, and before we do that, so there was a few technical issues with the poker. We're going to go and play the 5+2 chess game, Simon. Okay. So we're going to get straight back to the chess.
Okay, so right,
so we'll get into the poker.
Let's just explain how things are changing. So there's basically five different games that these guys are playing. They're all weighted in points a bit differently. The 3+1 game earlier on was won by Peter, and that gave him 1 point. Now the next game of chess is 5+2. So we'll just bring the board up there. So it's a bit longer. And this one is worth 2 points. So it's double the value, we can say, of the last one. So it's more important. And we'll see if we can get these guys. Well, we're ready for the game, basically, now. So, good.
So they're going to play the 5+2. Again, apologies, slight technical issue that we're working on. So they're going to get going with the 5+2. And then hopefully we'll get some poker in as well.
Yeah, good. So is it right that... again, is Peter White again in this game? I hope I got the right game.
No, it probably is the one. Oh no, it is that one. Apparently he is white.
Wow,
so that's a bit unlucky.
He's got double white. And
white.
I mean, Grischuk is white in the Fischer Random, but maybe in some respects that doesn't matter as much because they do finish with Fischer Random because who knows anything about fish around them, right? I mean,
Right.
if you're white or black, probably the advantage is not as big in normal chess because it's not worked out as much. So a little advantage for Peter there, double whiting, and we're in, and we start with the English again. Will it be another King's Indian?
Let's see. It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like maybe they've done a bit of work. So we're getting a repeat of game 1 here, which is very funny.
Okay. Are we going to see H4? Is the H
they'll
pawn
do
going to
the
roll?
same. They'll do the same.
So last time Peter went bishop e2, castles, and he started to roll the H pawn up the board, like the hero he is. Oh, he's gone for the samish this time, and this is a line often played, but you also, the problem with this move, you take away the natural square for the knight, and you have to put the knight here, and that blocks the bishop. But it's a very aggressive line, and Grischuk goes for the same strategy of trying to push b5, or if Peter stops b5, then he can go a5. So he's gone c5. This is all very normal stuff, Loz.
Yeah, the move c5 is kind of an annoying move because basically he's saying, I don't want to let you play b5, but black often just goes b5 anyway because, of course, c takes b6, a takes b6 is... c takes b6, queen takes b6. Black has the open b file. Of course, what white claims after this is that the a6 pawn is a permanent weakness and that he's going to be able to target it. So all very standard stuff been played a lot of times, which is kind of unsurprising, of course.
Bishop e2, and now just getting ready to castle. And now Grischuk's trying to do something with this pawn. Maybe possibilities, I guess, black wants to have some chances of grabbing that c4 square. So getting rid of the bishop and playing there, that's one way to do it. And he does go for that bishop a6 here. And exchange has happened, covering c4, queen a8. Bit like a Benko as well, where black can use that b file. But white's very solid here as well. It's got a nice central edge, pieces nicely developed. So in the balance at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely in the balance. I mean, but the sort of game that I think Sasha will be happy with because he can definitely play for stuff here. The rook's coming to b8, knight's coming to c4. Often the move pawn to a4 is flicked in as well, just to grab a bit more space, cramp white a bit more. And even though things look pretty here with white, Peter, it's one of those where you would rather have a bit more time on the clock to work out what the most efficient plan is. Because, you're solid. you're robust, but... what are you actually supposed to be doing here? Is it that clear to you? It's not that clear to me what white should be doing here.
I wouldn't be surprised if he starts doing something on the king side, because just looking at black's pieces, black's put his pieces all on the queen side quite naturally because he wants to, try to get some action going over there, maybe c5 at some point. So, I've just moved the board there. I'm sorry, I don't know how to resize that back. Hopefully you can still see it. So I apologize to our producer. It looks okay, just about.
It's just about all right. I think you can resize it if you click just to the left side of the board. So, I mean, if you move that mouse left a bit more.
Left a bit more here.
Bit more there.
Yeah.
Bit more there.
Yeah.
Right. Not the toolbar. There we go.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just.
Oh, got it. Tell me when to stop.
Let's see. It'll come up in a minute.
Okay.
I think that's probably all right like that.
Yeah. Okay.
We can see the H file. That's the important thing at the moment. Okay. So we'll sort that out.
As long as we can see the H file. Yeah. So, okay. Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. So rook A7. So, I do like, I would take white in a game here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So knight B2, very deep.
I really like these two moves because before doing anything over here, which I'd be in a rush to do, you can see this position, and Lawrence already mentioned the idea of going A4, which kind of cripples the pawn on B2, because if you play B3, you open up the A file. So A4 with eventually pressure down here and the C4 square would be a nice way to gain activity. So by playing B3 first, you first of all, if that pawn comes upwards, we can put that on the board. You go B4. You can play it like this. But the way Peter has done it, very nice move. I really like this knight B2, stopping that move and maybe coming to C4. So let's just quickly get up to date, obviously, with the moves. They're coming quite quickly. And we now have kind of a very typical structure. This was an interesting maneuver by, obviously, Sasha, getting the rook on the C file. And generally these structures are supposed to be a little bit better for white. Later on, the chances of getting past B pawn could be very useful, and you might have at some point the knight come into a very nice central square. So possibly, but slightly better for white, but black has this bit of pressure at the moment.
Yeah, it's a little bit of pressure, and it's not easy. I mean, often what you want to do here as white is kind of just relieve that pressure by moving the knight. So a move like knight e2 wouldn't surprise me. Knight b to a4 is a move, probably. Sorry, knight c to a4 rather is probably a move. I'm not dropping anything, I don't think. So knight e2, knight c to e4. Knight to d5 you would normally play, but I think knight takes d5, and there we go.
Nicely spotted. Yeah.
Yes.
But I mean, I expect that black is absolutely fine. Maybe I'm wrong in saying white has advantage, because this was a clever move. In some situations, the queen can dive into e2 even after mass exchanges.
Exactly.
Black has this potential on both diagonals, or another idea is potentially put the rook on the 7th rank if that works at the right time. You maybe don't need to do that. So
I like rooks. I think his idea is if there's a mass trade on c1 and queen e2, he's got this move knight c3. So I was about to say I much prefer your move rook c2. Yeah, that looks quite awkward actually for white.
Yeah.
So takes, and he brings back knight c3 anyway. So he's looking to play a move like, well, he could now bail out. Rook d2, rook d1 would be a typical kind of repetition actually. I can see that happening, believe it or not.
Yeah, so I mean, I think okay, he has gone rook d2, so we wouldn't be surprised if it does bail out to draw. Just to remember you the points, they're doing 5 different games today and 2 chess. This is the second, 6 different games, excuse me. 3 chess, 3 poker. This is the second chess game. Peter, this looks like it's going to be a draw, is 1 point up. This is a 2-point game, but they're going to split the points if they draw it, meaning Peter will still be in the lead by 1 point, and they got this 960 game later. That's going to be interesting. 960 chess. Have you got into 960 Fischer Random at all?
I haven't got into 960. It's not something. I mean, I appreciate it and I do want to get into it, but it isn't actually something I've gotten into.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a draw.
It's a draw. Yeah.
As expected. Pretty good game. Right result, isn't it, Simon? Basically.
Yeah, I mean, just a very good game from both players, I feel here. I mean, was there any missed opportunities? I don't think there was any big missed opportunities. I mean, we were praising, or at least I was praising here, Peter's very clever b3, controlling everything. But it was very important at this moment that black just doesn't sit here passive. And this is the kind of position which I think a weaker player, maybe myself included, might fiddle about a little bit and let white slowly just improve as white is doing. So it is important to break. And I feel the c5 was a key move actually, Lawrence, just to get some counterplay. Otherwise, What are you doing? It's always better to play with a plan, even sometimes if it's a bad plan, than no plan at all. I don't know if there was a knight b5 here. Could have been some interesting ideas with... oh,
wow. Did he miss something? Some knight b5?
I don't know if knight b5 is playable. You can play with a4 here. But no, your b3 is too weak. Just take care, right? And b3 is gonna drop at this moment.
I don't know. Yeah, probably. I mean, you can
try, can't you?
You can go bishop d. Yeah, it's probably a little bit too loose. Yeah,
looks a little bit loose b3. Yeah, because this knight's also coming in. So I think generally a good game there, Lawrence. The chess, it seemed like personally. So
feels like the absolute right way.
Still a bit peculiar that after pushing Harry so early, we didn't see Peter just lobbing Harry out the board here, But anyway, or could you have lobbed Freddie up the board? The F pawn, is that another idea? Here potentially.
I guess we could, because they're still setting up the poker. So that's what I was thinking actually in this exact position. Once the knight had gone back, I quite thought.
Maybe.
I mean, b3 is so classical. I mean, remember these guys have been trained in the classical Soviet schools, right? I mean, Peter Svidler was in the Botvinnik school.
What school were we in? The Biranik.
Yeah.
The Biranik school of chess.
Apple cider College of Cheltenham. Yeah.
They're a bit of different league to us. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
We can throw around ideas, but obviously they're not going to be as strong as their ideas given. But I mean, I love the idea of just seeing the king, all the pieces on the other side, and going for it. But I
think
did
that's
like
what he wanted to do. Basically,
Yeah.
I think he wanted to go. He wanted to secure after b3, rook a7, knight b2, and if c5 didn't come, let's say black played a move like rook b7. This is where I think he might have tried to initiate h4, f4,
or f4, something like this.
Something a bit more aggressive. But
Maybe
Sasha understood.
Maybe even knight a4, because if we can stop this
also,
one break, then it's looking good. But c5 seemed to just about be okay here.
And that's what, if you look at the great chess players in history, what they all do really well is they understand how to stop counterplay before they launch their own attack. Of course,
it's quite funny. I mean, I'm just looking at this position, and it kind of looks like a typical Benko, where it ended up in a draw.
Yeah.
And that must mean the Benko's so bad, because you get the same position of pawn down. People don't play the Benko anymore. They do that. I mean, maybe for good reason, right?
I was playing it for years as a kid, and I got cracking results. But now, basically, they've found loads of ways to be better with white. So it's kind of just died off, unfortunately. It is what it is. So
I think we are waiting for the guys to set up the poker now. So hopefully, they will be able to get that going, and
that's going to be so. This is a hyper turbo heads up. Now I don't know the exact structure. Okay, so we're going to find out really well. So the way it starts is, of course, they're both going to get a certain amount of chips each. We'll see how much. Then there's going to be they're both forced to put in called blinds, which are obligatory bets, and the blinds are going to increase really quickly. So at some point, Simon, unlike a normal game where you might get 100 blinds to start and then, the blind structure increases just a little bit, this is going to go super, super quick, so that it could be over in one hand. After all, if they get dealt aces and kings first hand, the money's going in, right? So
even ace 10 versus ace 9 that's going in probably.
Maybe not that much, but we can see the poker here. Now, I would love to see that a bit bigger. Can you see that full screen? Because
I can't see anything at the moment. Do I have to stop sharing?
Oh, here we go. I can see it here. Okay, so we're seeing from is that Peter's side? I don't know. Can we get a confirmation as to who is on the button here? That would be great. I think that's Peter. Something 98. Let me just check here.
Have you got any idea how I'd make that bigger? Because that screen. Do I have to stop sharing? No.
I'm asking the same thing because it's very small. View. Okay, let me just ask. ILN's going to do it now. Brilliant. If she can just make that bigger. Here we go. Can you make that screen bigger, ILN? There we go. Now, is that clear for everybody, or is that still blurred? It might be too blurred for the viewers at home. So can they see the actual cards, because it's blurred where I am? The resolution isn't very good. Oops. Hold on. Here we go. Let's see.
Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
Because otherwise I won't be able to see.
You don't need actually.
Okay, because I'll just show you. This is what I can see at the moment. This size.
Because the problem, ILN, is I don't know who the players are at the moment.
Actually, Peter is here. He's sharing the screen, I'm saying.
So Peter is sharing the screen. So this is Peter's cards. Okay, so we're seeing from Peter's Fiddler's thing. So are we still we're still live on air, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're still live. They can still hear us. Okay. Yeah. So we've got but the resolution for me is just a little bit I can't see the cards that well, ILN, basically. And I can't see the chip number. Can you reduce the screen size, the size of the poker table? I can see it better there, but even that's quite. Unfortunately, I can't see the exact chip stacks, which is quite. That is better, but now I kind of need a zoom somehow. I'm going to have to really lean in here, Simon, to see this. Okay, I mean, basically, Peter won the first hand. And Sasha's won the second, and we're going to start from the third. So Sasha has a pair of 10s. Peter's got queen 8 on the button. On the button in poker, in heads up poker, you raise about 80% of pots, as far as I can see, as far as I know, which is very limited when it comes to no limit hold'em. And the board is king 10-5, check, check. So Peter takes a pretty standard line. He doesn't take a stab at this pot. The 4 on the turn, he checks back.
Is this hyper turbo or turbo?
This is hyper turbo. So it looks as though there's 120 in the middle already. So I have to check the exact blinds, but I can't see it. And ace high does win. So they checked it down, which is a pretty standard hand. King 4 here is probably a fold. Oh, we did actually get a fold from the button there from Sasha, which is not that usual. Now, Peter's got a premium here, so he pops it up. Normally you pop it up, standard ace queen, and he doesn't get any action, which will upset him. He's now got the 8-6, which he'll be defending against a raise. This will be a standard defense.
Okay,
yeah, so that one was pretty standard as well. So it was a bet and fold. Again, standard open ace-9 off for Peter. Flops top pair. Normally here he'll go... he does decide to just snap check back, which is certainly a line. This is a deceptive line. Normally you would expect to bet top pair there, but he decides to check back and just bet one street. He gets no action. So far, no big hands, no big clashes. 8-5 off. I think Peter will defend. No, he decides to fold. I'm not sure. Again, here. What have we got here? Now that's much better. If I can maximize that, I can actually see something here, which would be great. Okay, that's much better. So here we go. So 2 8s on the button. So Simon, come in as well at any moment. I know I'm just reeling this one off.
I've just been trying to change the screen, but okay, I've stopped sharing mine, so I can actually see it now. But so we're looking at it from Peter's side, and with a pair of 8 here. This is quite a tricky one because he's got Jack and Ace on the board, right? So what should you do here? And he's put a little bit of money in as a typical raise. Do you continue betting? He does.
Well, he just put like a feeler bet out there. The flop went check. So you're assuming that Sasha doesn't have any of it, and this was actually what I guess they would term as a thin value bet with 2 8s there, and perfectly reasonable. Jack 4. He decides to limp this. I guess that's not what you should do with Jack 4 off. I guess you should raise or probably fold. It's one of those 20% hands, I guess, and limping is probably a bit weird, even with this blind structure. Again, I'm probably going to get lambasted by.
Can I tell you one thing I found funny, Loz? Like when I was, I did a poker stream. And, I'm a pretty okay poker player. But the amount of people who think they're world champions at poker is incredible. It's like, okay, if you do a chess stream, people know you're a GM, and you still get people thinking they're world champions and you're rubbish. Right. But when you do a poker stream, it's like, oh my words, the amount of people in the chat were like, oh no, every little thing they're arguing about, and they just think they're brilliant. I just find that, is that a common thing in the poker world?
I think in the poker world,
I think it is, right? I mean, I didn't really like playing. I love playing live poker, but some of the banter was, the banter at the table was quite funny, but some of the things that people actually saw, got into and talked about, they all thought they were world champions. Very high egos in poker, or is that? Yeah. It seems that way to me.
Well, it's the difference between chess and poker, of course, is that, how do you rank poker players in terms of their strength? Is it the money they've won? Is it the titles they've won? The actual ranking system is quite tricky to figure out, whereas in chess, you can mathematically, scientifically tell if a player is just better than anybody else. Kasparov is better than me, and that's fact, and that's not up for debate. Is Peter Svidler a better poker player than me? Well, that is up for debate. No, it's not. He's not. But you get my point. Just joking. That's so. So when people comment on poker hands, of course, they've got the backup that the scientific, well, how do you know what's better? Well, that's where, this world of solvers and solutions are coming in, because you can prove that X play was a superior play to another. But again,
ace king,
got a big hand, yeah.
We've got big king.
Ace king.
I like that. He just limps in.
Tricky.
Very nice. Very
nice, deceptive. Yeah. But then he gets to 10-7-6 board and thinks, ugh.
Yeah. So this is the other way of playing it. I mean, Ace King. Obviously, you're taught that you should raise in nearly all situations. But when you're playing heads up, or even with a number of players, you can sort of limp, hope you hit a card, and you're basically raising. You're raising on the river and turn, right? Kind of in most situations, right?
If you hit, I mean, it's definitely not conventional to limp the button with Ace King there. He should be raising, but he decided to mix in. This is interesting. So he flops a flush draw, 9 high flush draw.
So if Alex had the ace or the king here, this could be, well, okay, he's hit his flush.
Yeah, so he's going to bet this. He's going to bet large, bet 75% pot. So he's putting, he's basically saying, look, I've caught a piece of this. The board pairs on the river, and now this check is completely wild to me. I have no idea what this check is. It went check on the flop, and he should be betting this river for value.
I think the only way he's trying to get a bet there. He's hoping maybe Sasha's going to do a little raise and a little bluff maybe at the end to try to win the pot.
Yeah, he could have been inducing, but I think there you want to bet because you want to get called by a bad jack or something like that, which could certainly happen. So, okay, on this one he flops top pair on a very dry board, 9-5-5. He's going to go again, probably. He checks back turn. Okay. And now the river is an interesting one. So if Sasha floated 7-6 with the gut shot straight draw, he gets there. He could have floated the queen 10, the 10-8 off 10-8, 10-7. Very interesting hand. I actually think Sasha's got it here. Let's see. He does have the better 9, actually. So got thin value there. The stacks at the moment, Sasha's got 17-30. Peter's got 1180, and the blinds are 30-60 already, which means about 30 big blinds. So going up very quickly. And we get a very large, what is this? This is a huge 3-bet. Peter basically saying, I can't play this hand out of position because it's a weak hand. So I'm going to represent a strong hand. And he decides to do that. And he hits the perfect board to continue this line. So he's representing a strong hand before the cards come out, and he turns equity here, and here he just has to go for it. This is a perfect card to just blast away and put Alexander to a tough spot. Let's see if Alexander, make him call off with a 9. He doesn't want to do that. This is a great
It's a difficult decision because, even if Alexander's got an ace, he calls with 9. Brilliant. Oh, he's hit, though. He hit his open-ended straight on the last card.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
And he's laughing. Look at that.
Smile there. Whoa. That is the thing. Sometimes you force yourself by bluffing actually into a situation. I find quite a lot. You're bluffing on the flop. You bluff on the turn. And something turns up, and then you have to keep going. And that was one of those situations where, okay, Alex did exactly the right thing. He called it all the way down with second pair. Very brave of him. I think he smelt the bluff. But Peter hit. So he's got an all-in here, and he's called with 7. He's 7-10. Was that wise to call there?
Basically, there was not enough money in the pot. And
right. Okay. I missed that one.
Yeah. So... Okay, so there's 1,800. So now back to basically where we are. But just to slightly add something to what you said, what Peter did very well there is he bluffed with additional equity, as they say. So he turned more equity. So you want to bluff and keep on bluffing when you turn equity, which is what Peter did. So as you saw, he made the straight. A 5 or a 9 was, a 5, what was it, 8-7, maybe a 10. I can't remember the straight, was the nut straight. So that was very well done. And they have more or less equal stacks again. Look at this. So Sasha has 1280 and Peter has 1600. Very, very close. Now with this ace, this is what we're talking about. We've got a bad ace here. What do? Do you 3-bet? You probably do.
I think you got to bet with an ace, haven't you?
You've got to raise. He's actually raising. So Sasha
opens, of course you have to raise with a bet.
If
you're not raising with an ace and heads up, what are you doing? It's okay. Look
at this. This is a nice. This is actually 10. He's got 12 or 13 big blinds. So he's limped. Look at this. Now he's going to ship it. This is excellent hyper turbo strategy. Limped the big pair, waited for the raise from Sasha, who was bluffing because he had a weak hand, and he came over the top. Absolutely brilliant stuff.
You're seeing this quite a bit from Peter, aren't you? He's not always betting out or raising the big hand. And this is another situation. He's a nice hand for Peter here. I feel he's got a couple of outs here, but he likes waiting, Peter. Maybe he's an inducer. It seems.
Well, what he's doing, he's being very smart in these hyper turbos. When you've only got a certain number of blinds, he's limping some big hands and waiting for Sasha to just blast off and catching him and trapping him, as they say. Yeah. So he's mixing, and what he's doing as well, he's doing that with his bad hands, which is, as they say in poker, he's balancing his ranges. So he's not just limping with just his strong hands, he's also limping the button with his weak hands, and getting that frequency right is really one of the keys to being a really successful poker player. But so far, Peter doing very, very well, outplaying Sasha so far. 2-1 chip advantage. And now he has to decide.
It's a very tough decision, yeah. Because
it's 9 blinds, king 9. Oh, and he's just pipped. That's
very, very
that's
tough.
Funny. Oh, there's
a split pot probably.
An ace is great. That's a chop. That's a chop. That ace was a great card for Peter, and he gets a bit lucky there.
Yeah. Okay. So
here we go. This
again,
again.
He's inducing again. He's got a very good card.
He's inducing, and he's going to snap this off. Yeah. And this is where, Simon, you call off ace 9 for 9 blinds. That's not up for debate. That's kind of game theory optimal play. That's not, is that good or not? That's just a winning play according to the solvers. So, and he makes a straight. Look at that. Yeah. Nice. He's just backed into a straight here. I wonder if Sasha, this is a great board to, and now of course he's going to go for the lot. He should probably just click it here. Going for the lot.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, this is probably nothing from. Okay,
they both have it.
Okay, 2-9 there. So yeah, the only reason Sasha's probably raising. Well, okay, he could have been bluffing that one as well, but Jack 4, who'd like to get a free check in, and he does.
Yeah.
I feel like Sasha's been a bit unlucky because there's actually only been one all in, and that has come from Svidler, and that's where he hit his straight on with. You could only hit a certain amount of cards there. What was it? 4 cards out of the deck. So
8 cards.
He was lucky.
8 cards.
8 cards.
8 cards. Yeah, because it was up and
open-ended, was it? Right.
It was open-ended, exactly.
So, yeah. Okay, so if anything, I feel it's Peter has been a bit more fortunate so far.
But Sasha's sticking in there. He's managing to hit some,
he's clawing back.
Yeah. Well, this is one of those spots. A7 again. If Sasha goes all in here, Peter will call. But A7 offsuit is really.
He's got a call. He's got a call. He's got a call with double a stack.
60-40.
Definitely.
There's a 7.
Okay, this could be it.
No queen or 5.
Queen or 5,
and he wins.
And it's it. He's got his 7. So there you go. And Peter's taking it down. So Peter now, just looking at the scoring system, is he won. He's 1 point up in the chess because he won the first one, and he just won that one. That's the hyper turbo, wasn't it? So he's 2 points up now. 2 points up. So
2 points up. Cruising is Peter Svidler, and I think they'll probably play the second poker game because we're just to catch up. Because we had 2 chess in a row. Now they're going to play a turbo heads up. So that was a hyper turbo, Simon, which meant that the blinds were going up really quickly. As we said at the end, he's only got 10 big blinds left or whatever. Now they're playing a turbo, which is slightly slower, but still fast enough for us. So is Alexander Grischuk actually going to win some sort of format? He has not won anything thus far. So well done, Peter. And some good poker there. Some decent poker, I feel. Both very, very decent players. By the way, they're both not No Limit Hold'em experts. I want to put that out there. Peter Svidler loves Omaha, as does Alexander Grischuk. We're going to have that format of poker later. And they're also what's called 8-game players, both of them. They love playing the mixed games in poker, which are far less popular and didn't really make it big on TV because they're just a bit more slow, and Hold'em is easily the easiest podcast. So
it does seem to me that Hold'em now, moving from Hold'em to other games like 7 card or Omaha, which a lot of people are doing, is a natural step because I think there's so many good Hold'em players out there because Hold'em's what everyone saw on TV like 20 odd years ago. Hold'em's the books that everyone brought, the old Doyle Bronson books, and start with the super systems and then
that's right,
the Harrington, ones and everything like this. So Hold'em is just a much more researched game. So the standard in Hold'em, I would imagine, is just generally higher than in these games which people play less of. So it makes sense. I think if you are a Hold'em player and you want to try something else, maybe try to specialize in those more bizarre games, like the ones that Loz is mentioning.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more value in some of the more the less popular games. As you said, so many players know how to play Hold'em now. If you go back 20 years, nobody really knew how to play well. And if you were around and you knew, you put in a bit of work and you worked it out, you could have really made a fortune. I mean, I know a lot of people who made millions back in the early 2000s. Now, if you want to make millions, you've basically just got to be a workhorse. The top guys are not gamblers. They're not punters. They are chess players. It's as simple as that. I mean, if you look at the top players in the world, they work with a solver 8 hours a day, just like Wesley So works with Stockfish for the same amount. Yeah, I mean, these guys just put in insane amounts of work.
I still think, let's say you're a poker player and you want to make millions. I mean, I think there's still more losers than winners, right? I mean, those people who try, there's loads of people who try, and you need a good bank balance to try and make a million, because you're going to have, you need to be able to lose multiple occasions, right? So you can't win a million unless you're kind of getting there first time. You've got to have quite a lot of money, right?
Well,
build it up.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, if you're going to play poker, bankroll management, as they call it, is really important, because you don't want to go broke. So you don't want to play too big. And there are various ways you can manage how much money you have and what you should be playing and what stakes you should be playing. Of course, there's a big difference as well, Simon, between tournament poker and cash poker, where tournament poker, you pay a certain amount to play a tournament and there's various prizes, or cash poker where the chips actually have monetary value. Those are two different worlds of poker as well, depending on what you want to do. Tournament poker, you have to play an insane number of tournaments if you want to be successful. You have to be just punting tons and tons and tons of tournaments. It's a very hard graft. I feel as though if you want to be a successful poker player, you have to be a successful cash game player. That is where the spots are. That's where you get the big whales and you can grind a nice living like that. But tournament poker, let me tell you, is not an easy business at all, even for pros. You can go on massive downswings. You can go months without winning. And it's a very telling and hard thing to do psychologically, to lose all the time. But that's something in poker which is known as variance in poker, where you don't necessarily get the results that you should. That's where the luck element comes in, basically. So it's tough being a poker professional. I mean, Simon, look, know lots of them. Not as glamorous as it seems. Let me put it like that. All right, back to the poker. We are in the turbo and they've kicked off, and we're seeing Peter Svidler's hold cards again. And it's one of those boards again where he's raised pre-flop, he's bet the flop, he's turned equity. As I said, he's turned the flush draw. So he's got two options here, because he does decide to bet again, and reasonable 40% or something like that. Was that 45 into 130? Slightly less. And now he has absolutely nothing. And this is a moment where you've bet once, you've bet twice. Do you bluff this river card, Simon? And the answer normally is at some frequency, yes. And he would have got that through. So you want to bluff a certain amount when you are, as they say, at the bottom of your range. So he had 8 high there. That hand never wins. And so you have to decide how many times, what percentage you want to bluff that river. Certainly a valid spot to bluff. In this one, 10 deuce, again, got nothing. He's going to keep on firing in position. And he rivers a deuce. And I guess is he going to check? Is he going to say, oh, deuce is good here, or is he going to fire?
He should probably bet here a little bit, have a little pump, because
he's bet large though. He's bet big,
so he's large. He's probably favourite though, because you got to also think the way your opponent's betting. I mean, I think it's pretty. If Sasha had hit anything, he'd be betting, So I feel that's what Peter's thinking now. If he hit the flop, Sasha would have bet the flop. The only thing that I think Sasha could have is an ace. I think this is the only card, actually.
No.
Because I think so, because I think he might check the ace down.
No.
And, he had the free. So, obviously...
No, he would have He would have clicked call faster than you can say Harry the H.
No, he would have raised if he had the ace. Yeah, I don't think he would have called at the end, right? So
no, it depends. With a bare ace, he might raise. It depends if he had two pair. I think with a single bad ace, he probably just calls there. But he called with the 3. So call.
Yeah, it's a good call because again, I think he probably thought, well, Peter's only hit the 2, because otherwise, why is Peter betting? Or it's a straight bluff. So he thinks I've got to bet hard than that. So
what am I going to do tomorrow against you? I'm going to bet really big and get you to call me really light. Yeah, I'm going to get you to call me with a 3 and a 2, and
you can try. I mean, there's when they were actually playing. Was it Hyper Turbo? I thought it was going to be. What's the real Hyper one where they start with 500 chips? I thought that was going to be part of the season. Now, I like this check, by the way. This check's very clever because there's no value there betting when you hit the top pair. He's just trying to check it down, and he'll probably put a little bet in now, I feel. So
it's an interesting sport. Yeah, he overbets the pot. So this is another bet.
Trying to make it look like a bluff, do you think there?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. He's trying to say, I've either got a very strong hand or a very weak one. I'm not sure his hand selection was the right one to do. I think it's very interesting. It'd be interesting to crack it, but I don't know. So, interesting bet. Now, 10-6 of spades. This is a clear call. You can also 3-bet, which is what he's doing. Very interesting.
Just to let everyone know, we are looking at it from Peter's side. So Sasha is playing on the other side of the table, and that was a quick fold there. So
a lot of people in chat are saying, why are we watching poker? Why are we watching 2 top GMs play poker? Well, it's probably, if you'd read the news item, this is the Battle of the Minds week, right? So we're celebrating both the games of poker and chess and playing various matches with a combination of both in association with Party Poker, highlighting the beauty of both games. Meanwhile, 3 10s have just been turned, and this could be trouble for
It could be if you've got an ace. If he's got an ace, but that was a clever check from him. And I think clever check from both players. Obviously, Peter doesn't want to bet that with what is most likely the winning hand, right? The nuts.
Definitely the best hand.
So
now he's going to raise.
He's got to raise this one.
Yeah.
And is there any? Well, of course he can be beat on an 8-9 or something crazy like this, or maybe 2 5s, trip 5s. Could that be a possibility?
He never checks the turn with 3 5s there. So now he's put him to a very tough decision here. Mm-hmm. He might have a bad ace. He might have just rivered a weak 7. He might even have a hand like 2 6s or 2 8s, a pocket pair where he was taking a kind of low variance line. And the beautiful thing is that there are 2 clubs out there, so all the flush draws missed. All the straight draws missed, the 4 3s, the 3 deuces, the 4 deuces. So Sasha, he's in the tank here. So he's got definitely basically he's got a marginal decision, and he has to decide whether Peter was trapping a 10 or if he's bluffing a missed draw. That's what's going on here.
He's having a very big think about this. So, I mean, it is quite a substantial raise by Peter. Yeah. Either representing the 10 or a bluff. So he's kind of trying to work out now. I expect he's got an ace. It'd be very interesting to see what he was holding here in this situation.
What happened there? He timed out, or
possibly timed out, but probably for a good reason, right? Probably a good time to time out there.
Okay.
As he was definitely losing that pot. So yeah.
Okay, ace on the button. Clear raise, makes it 60.
Nice flop.
Yeah, top pair. It's a bit dangerous though. Remember, if Sasha has a 7, is open-ended. He can definitely not have the best hand here. By the way, A6 is definitely not the best hand all the time there. And a 4, and now Sasha leads into him, which is interesting. Peter calls, and now he's going to have a difficult river decision here. Peter, is he going to call this river? Or not?
Probably, depending on the bet size, but you're probably calling this in most situations because, it's quite hard to. I mean, it'd be interesting to see what Sasha bets here, right? But I think wouldn't you call this in most situations? That's a tricky one. That is a tricky one, and he's hit the 9 at the end there. Yeah. That's why I think he had to call in most situations, and it was a good bet from Sasha there, just enough to make him call. Yeah.
Yeah, so if Sasha got lucky, he basically was representing a different hand and then managed to actually magically hit one of the cards he needed on the river. Yeah, so this one here, Peter's got the queen 10. He's got the gut shot. Oh, he makes stone nuts on the
dirty.
Broadway.
So is he going to get paid for this though? This is the thing. I mean, it's one thing in poker hitting the nuts, but it's very hard getting paid for it.
Now he should go really large. No, now he should go.
Good call.
He should go super large and And the reason why you should go very large here.
The guy's got 2 pair, I guess, or something. Yeah?
Well, it's not just that. It's doing something called polarizing your betting. So when you bet so large, you're basically saying either I have the best hand or I'm bluffing you and I'm making it so expensive that you have to pay a lot to pay for my bluff, right? So you want to do this really well, balanced. And again, Sasha with 5 seconds, agonizing, decides to, did he call? I think he called.
Yeah, he called. Yeah. So
he called. So beautiful bet there by Peter. We don't know what Sasha had because we're looking at Peter's cards, and Sasha called Peter, so he doesn't have to reveal his hand. So nice bet there by Peter. Lovely stuff.
Yeah. And okay, so now Peter's playing well, and if Peter wins this, Sasha hasn't won anything. So they had 1 draw in the chess. Let's just remind everyone of the points so far. The score at the moment is 3-0 for Peter, and things are scored slightly different. So there's 2 games of chess they've played. The first game, 3+1, was scored as a 1-pointer, and Peter won that one. And then the next game of chess was a 5+2. That was a 2-pointer. So that was a draw. And then you had the Hyper Turbo Heads Up, which Peter won as well. So Sasha's got a bit of work to do, right, to get back into this one.
Yeah, he does. But even if he loses this match, as we'll explain in the last match, he can still win the match because 3 points for the chess and for the poker means he would win the match 6-5 if he won both. So even if he loses this poker, he's got a shot, but still well in it. So this is an interesting hand. So look, Peter's got the flush draw here, and he's got a very decent flush draw, the king eye flush draw, and he's deciding to raise this, which makes a lot of sense, putting pressure on Sasha, saying, if you've got a marginal hand again, you have to continue with short chips. So this is really a spot where if Sasha has a strong jack, he basically has to go with it. He has to go all in. I don't see any other, and he does. And he has just a 6, and that is it.
That's the end of that one.
Decided to go even thinner there, and
Peter's won it again.
Won another match, and he's sniggering. Look at him. He's having a right little. He's laughing to himself there. He's loving it.
He's enjoying himself in this one, right? So that does mean, just to let everyone know the score, and it's right. So it's 5-0 to Peter. Let's get this right. 5-0 to Peter, and that means the next one is very interesting because they're playing 10 plus 10, 960. But at the same time as playing that one, 10 plus 10, 960 rapid, they're playing a standard Omaha game. And there's 3 points online for both of them. So if Sasha wins both of those ones, he can win. But he has to win both now, Loz.
Yep.
So,
He has to win both. And I don't think I've ever commentated chess and poker simultaneously. That's going to be fun. Just to let everybody know, of course, Chess 960, aka Fisher Random, where the pieces on the back rank, and you can see, you will be able to see in a moment, the pieces have been shuffled on the back rank according to a random selection. Chess 960 gaining a lot of popularity, aka Fisher Random Chess. It was Bobby Fischer's suggestion to avoid players being able to basically memorize opening theory. So this is a test of pure chess talent. That's the claim of this game. And then in the poker, they've got Heads Up Omaha. So that's going to be slightly different, where very quickly the rules of Omaha poker, you get dealt 4 cards instead of 2 that we were just seeing. And you must use 2 from your hand and 3 from the board. There are no other combinations. You can only use and must use 2 from your hand. So that's a big difference. And it's also the pot limit, which means you can only bet the size of the pot. So you cannot go all in like we just saw there for 800 when there's 100 in the middle. You can only bet what is a multiple of the pot, and that's called Pot Limit Omaha. My favorite game, and a very popular game, Simon. It's getting more popular because people are realizing, it's a fun game. It's still tons of solver work that comes out, tons of strategy work you can do. It's very mathematical, totally different game to No Limit Hold'em, just worlds apart. But becoming more popular because there's a bit more gamble to it as well. Simon, apparently share your screen, mate, if you can. On live chat.
I am sharing my screen
Are
at
you?
the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, should be, but I maybe need to join. I had to stop sharing the other one, so I'm gonna maybe hang a minute, join the. Okay, let me try this again and see if I can get this to work. 1 second, please. I just need the Zoom link, and I'm just asking to join the next Zoom link, which has now ended. The one which was started after the introduction, which I can't actually join at this moment in time. So just to let you know what's happening, I had to stop. This is just for the producers. I had to stop the Zoom. I had to stop sharing my original board of the live viewer because I couldn't see the poker. So I stopped sharing them, but I need to share that again. But I can't get access to that call now. So I'm going to the spreadsheet, trying to join the call, but it's not coming up.
Apparently, can you try sharing just here, Simon? Okay. While that's being sorted out, I'm not Simon Williams. I know it says I am, but I am not. I wish I was sometimes, the Ginger GM. I'll fill in a bit of time while we get that all sorted out, because it looks as though there's just a few trying to get the poker and the chess up. Remember, Chess24, are you a premium member? If not, why not? That's the real question you have to ask yourself. Become a premium member, and you can benefit from all of the wonderful things that Chess24 has to offer. The hundreds, if not thousands now, of hours of video tuition by the likes of Peter Svidler, and various other top grandmasters on your favorite openings, on your favorite strategies. You can do all of that. Remember, you can play things like the banter blitzes if you ever wanted to play against the top players in the world and never had the chance because you just couldn't play them. Then become a premium member. Of course, remember the sister companies as well of Chess24. You've got Chessable, of course, Simon has joined the Chess24 Play Magnus Group family. Just check it all out. Chessable, Play Magnus, Chess24, New in Chess is a new addition. So a growing empire and so much value in there. Highly suggest getting your money's worth by becoming a premium member.
Hopefully you can hear me now. I'm sharing my screen here, so let me know if that's works. I'll just keep the chat on. So I just tried restarting it, seeing if that helped. So are we in? It's going to be interesting. Do we hear each other tomorrow, Loz, when we're playing?
I don't know. I mean, it would be funny to needle you live. I have to say,
you can do a fine gold on my arse.
Well, that's one way to say it. Yeah. No, I look forward. We haven't played chess in ages, have we? Actually,
we haven't. No. I've got a bit of chess coming up. Yeah, I mean, are we doing the same kind of chess? I mean, I'm quite looking forward to 960 actually, because
I guess we should just do all the same. Just keep it No Limit Hold'em tomorrow, right? And then
I reckon.
Yeah,
I reckon, but maybe not Omaha. I'll tell you a funny story about Omaha. I mean, maybe when this starts, I can have a little look at the chess and you can have a look at the poker, because I don't think I'll be able to view the poker. But
okay,
when I was at university, Loz, about 20 years ago, I went down to a casino where I played a lot of poker, and there was a cash game after the thing, and I got involved in the cash game. And they were like, "All right, let's now do Omaha." And I'm like, oh God, okay, I don't know how to play this. And I remember the first hand, I went all in for my money, which at the time was a lot of money to me, still is. £100 or so, and I'm like, yeah, I've got a full house here, lads, full house, and they're like,
not a full house.
It's not a full house because you can't use those cards. And I'm like, oh God, because obviously in Texas Hold'em you use your 2 cards, right? But when you're playing Omaha, it's different. So that was rather embarrassing introduction to Omaha. But we're now in with the games and the action.
Yeah. So you've got. I mean, we'll do both. So I mean, they're both off. They've started. So Grishtuk with the white pieces in 9-16. Nothing really to comment on because it's a. We don't know. There is no theory, but interesting 2 bishops in the center. It's not that much of a weird position, like where you get the queen in the corner and that sort of stuff. So looks as though that could be quite interesting. And in the Omaha, as you can see there, Peter being dealt 4 cards. You must use 2. That story that Simon just said. It's not a full house because you have to use exactly 2 from your hand and 2 and 3 from the board. So that's kind of critical. And it's going to be fun to see these guys play the Omaha. And we can see in the Omaha, actually, Peter has got a very strong starting hand. In Omaha in general, just some basic pointers. You want your cards to work together. So even though you only use 2 cards, you want them to work together. You want them to be connected. So a hand like King, Queen, Jack 9 with King and Jack of Hearts, that's a nice flush draw opportunity. You want those cards to work together. So you've got some you can make a bunch of straights like that, and you can be aggressive with such a holding. Not his favorite board, Ace 10-10, has to be said. But nevertheless, he's going to keep on betting because he 3-bet or raised pre-flop and is representing a very strong hand. And he's got to call twice, and I expect Peter now to shut down on this river being called twice. I don't think you can do very much here, although there's tons in the pot. So maybe that's just going to be over, but he does shut down. And now probably Sasha has some kind of 10 here and is deciding to go for value. Or he's got a very strong ace and is just going to check back for pot control, basically. And he does go for very thin value. And basically Peter just has to fold. What about the 360? 2 moves only so far. C3 by Grishtuk looks like a very natural move, opening the line for the queen from B1 out and the bishop from D1. So again, we don't know any theory because there is none, but looks very interesting. Sorry, you can keep an eye on the chess for a moment. I mean, the poker here's a very interesting spot. Again, Peter, he has a decision to make here. He turned a double gut shot, straight draw. So an 8 would make him a straight with Jack 8, and a king would have made him the main straight. This ace on the river. See, in Hold'em, you would bet that card. Simon there on that board, right? There was an ace. You would probably bet it for value. In Omaha, you don't bet single. Single pair is not very valuable, and 2 pairs can be, but not really. It can get you into a lot of trouble. So you need to you don't bet so lightly in Omaha normally. Okay, this is a great board here in the Omaha. Ace 10-7. So Peter has actually got 3 pair. Of course, that's only 2 pair because you only use 2 from your hand. But he covers the board and pots it because when he has all the pairs, it means he doesn't have any of the draws. So all of the flush draws, all of the straight draws. So you want to charge your opponent to try and draw to those cards. Another open here. You open just like in Hold'em very often. And actually, Peter flops the stone nuts. Look at that, Simon. He's got the 6-4. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And he gets led into by Sasha. So now Peter's got a decision to make. Does he raise or does he call? Slow playing this makes a lot of sense. 8 is a complete brick. So now he's probably going to raise this turn. So when Sasha continues his line, which is to bet here, Peter is going to probably raise. Or he can call one more time and just hope for a and he got the perfect run out, Jack of diamonds. So now he can just go for the whole hog. So when Sasha bets again here on this river, Peter will be all in. He decides to check. So this was a kind of semi-bluff. Now Peter can actually pot this. And, he's basically, this is a very good bet because Peter might just say, well, I was kind of had 4-5 and bricked and put Sasha to a tough decision here. This is a great line by Peter. What about in the chess, Simon? What's going on in this position?
Well, looks quite interesting. I love the starts 960, obviously called 960 because there's 960 starting positions, and one of them is actually the normal starting position in chess. So I guess you can get that if you're playing a 960 tournament. You can actually start off in the normal position, but just going through the moves, you've got to just think every position, how you want to develop your pieces. And this is why I find it so fascinating. And there's no really established theory. And I like C3 because obviously this bishop now has ideas probably of coming out here. And here we see Peter just developing, and the other bishop gets a very useful diagonal. Black brings the bishop out to g4. And again, when you're playing chess, no matter if it's 960 or normal chess, you should be always concerned about why did your opponent move that piece. And it's clear here, I think, to me, that the bishop wants to come around to g6. So if you chased it, which would be a normal reaction to someone moving a piece into your own half, it might help it get around to this good square.
Just to interrupt you, because we've got a major moment as well in the poker, and this could be the end of it. Paul Borter, aka Peter Thriller, flopped top set. He had King 10-9 double suited, one of the strongest hands you can get in Omaha before the flop. Flopped Gin on the King 6-4, got called, and now Sasha might have the 5-3 here. I mean, he called the flop. He might have diamonds, but he might have the 5-3. And this ace is a gorgeous river for Peter, and he can jam for value. I think Sasha raises this 5-3 on this turn. I don't think he slow plays it, given the stack sizes. And now Peter can just go all in, pretty much knowing he's got the best hand. I don't think 5-3 really is a hand here. And Sasha might have some two pair. He's thinking, has Peter bricked the diamond draws? This ace doesn't help Sasha that much because Peter 3-bet pre, so it kind of hits Peter's three betting range. But yeah, I think basically Sasha's trying to make a thin call here, and he decides to fold. Just back to actually the chess. If we go to the current position, mate, it looks like one of your London systems.
Yeah, well, white brings the knight out very nicely because the knight can now come here to stop black's idea, which makes a lot of sense. And now the queen, which is in a terrible position, moves its way out. The bishop gets to a better square. C5, trying to get some kind of space advantage on there. The knight pops in and the bishop comes back. One thing you'll notice about the top players is they really do enjoy their bishop pairs, and moving the bishop back here is one way to keep that. Again, 960, it's really a couple of things. I mean, the castling rule always confuses me, but they can both castle here, I think, immediately just by swapping the king and rook around, so their kings are not stuck in this rather dubious position. And you've got to look at two things: who's got the easiest attack, who's got the better pieces generally. I love the knight here. I like this, but it's just very balanced with the black pawn being on c5 as well. So it just seems quite balanced, this position at the moment in time, I'd say, after bishop h5.
Now, you were talking about full houses. This is a full house, Simon. So he's got 2 8s in his hand, which connect with the 8 on the board, and 2 queens. That's a full house. 8s. And he's slow playing this because it's what's called a very dry or locked down board. Queen, queen 8, no flush draws, no real straight draws. And now he's betting this river, trying to get a bit of value. But unfortunately for Peter, Sasha had absolutely nothing.
Yes, so that's the problem with poker, isn't it? I mean, you can often, like, whatever you're playing, hit the nuts, which is the best hand. Get your 2 aces in if you're playing Hold'em, and then you try to get a little bit of action, even by putting a very small raise in, and everyone just folds, and it's like, so frustrating. Because of course, when you've got the best hand, you need action, right. And that's why generally I'm giving some clues away to Lawrence now. That I find, I don't play money professionally by any means, but I enjoy playing very aggressively in other hands, hoping that people will take me less seriously when I get the big hands. So I play very sort of very aggressive poker because I want to get people thinking I'm on the bluff a lot.
That's been noted for tomorrow. For anybody who doesn't know, Simon and I
obviously I won't do that tomorrow now, but just in case you're wondering. So and yeah, we'll see. So I mean, it looks like the poker is again the poker and the chess at this moment, Lawrence. Where I'm looking, it looks fairly even on both. I mean, I would say in the chess, Black's now castle. Black's very solid. White can probably just castle here as well. Not too much going on. I'm wondering if Grischuk is thinking of ideas, more aggressive ideas of pushing his G and H pawn, which is something you said this resembles a London system, and it does. Well, he doesn't. He goes to the standard idea where he'll probably play a London system set up pawns like this and try to get into a strategy he's more aware of. And the one thing with chess, I think, Lawrence, is you want to get sort of structures that the ideas in, and that's why you play certain openings. It's not necessary to win in the opening. It's not even often to get a good position in the opening. That helps, but it's to get into a middle game where you know what you're doing, the plans very easily. And here, I guess this London system, both players will be aware of, and he gets the London system position. Anything going on in the poker there?
Stacks are very, very even. We've got an interesting hand here. So the board is 7-5-4, 2 diamonds. Peter's got Jack 5-6 deuce. So what Peter has is, he officially has jacks and fives are his best hand, but he has 5-6. So he has the open-ended straight draw. So an 8 makes him a straight, a 3 makes him a straight, and he's deciding to bet this. And the reason he's betting this is because he's doing something called, he's betting what's called the blocker card. So the 6-8 was the best hand possible. He has a 6 in his hand. Therefore, it's much less likely that Sasha has 8-6, and he's trying to represent a strong hand by betting twice there. Nicely done. Again, in the poker, we see one of those spots, Simon. Ace, Queen, 9-3. So he's got top pair, and he checks. So he's checking because you can't be too thin in your bets in Omaha because, one pair here, ace, for example, ace, queen here. This is just a bluff, by the way. This bet on the end by Peter is not for value. This is a pure bluff by Peter's fiddler on the end. He's not betting one pair. That's the big difference between Omaha and Hold'em. A big, big difference.
He's keep looking. Okay, it's a new hand there, but I was it's quite interesting because you can see the time situation as well. And I think this is going to get, just to let everyone know what the situation is with the chess. But Omaha, Lawrence is much more aware of than me. He's having a look at that. And in the chess, it's 9:60. And it's 10 minutes plus 10 seconds a move. And it's going to be really interesting, Loz, when they get down under a minute. Because, you have to do a simultaneous, think about the poker and think about the chess. And a little question for yourself, Lawrence, and maybe anyone else that are in chat. I've just logged into the Chess24 Twitch chat, so hello to everyone there. What game pairs best with chess that you might be able to play at the same time? Obviously, I think poker and chess is a very natural pairing because a lot of chess players became professional poker players because it's a similar skill set, but there's more money involved with it. I know Lawrence. Are you still doing boxing, Lawrence? You still doing a bit of training there?
Well, I mean, obviously since Corona, things have quieted down. But I do train on the weekends with my Cuban trainer, and I'm looking forward to getting back properly into that. Chess boxing is obviously a major combination, but chess and poker really is the one. If we think about some of the top poker players in the world, they all seem to play chess. I mean, Dan Smith, for example, is probably, top 10 earners of all time, 2250, very strong chess player. Tons of, there've been tons of articles written about top poker players and top chess players. Not so many about top chess players and top boxers. The synergy there is a bit less obvious, but nevertheless, By the way, in the poker, we've got a spot here where Peter does have a full house with a flush on board. So if you look, the board is 2, 9, 10, Jack, deuce. A deuce means 2. And Peter's got 2 10s in his hand. So he's got 10s and deuces as a full house, but he didn't get called. But he's got a big chip lead, 2-1 chip lead here for Peter's fiddler in the poker on cruise control. And also in the chess, Sasha's trying to do something now, knight g5.
Yeah, maybe more of a positional idea than an aggressive idea. Often in these London systems and these positions, you put your pawns on one colour square, the dark squares, and that makes the opposite colour squares, and especially the square in the middle, the weaker square. So knight g5, I think, is simply a way to try and get rid of that, get that square under white's control. And if white can get that under his control, he's still got his knight on the other side of that. So I do think I slightly prefer Sasha's position. But the interesting thing here, and let's just let everyone know that they've had quite a lot of games already, and the only way Peter's basically won everything. There's been one draw, but everything else Peter has won. And if Sasha has any chance, he's got to win not just the poker, but the chess. So maybe a strategy from Peter could be, right, you know, if one of them's going badly, you put it all in on the other one, right? So yeah, exactly. You literally, you know, the chess is going badly, right, let's go on the poker. The poker's going badly, let's concentrate on the chess. And very interesting move, though, from Peter on the board, knight e4. And this is, I mean, I'm assuming this works. Let's just have a look. Now, Sasha's thinking, clearly, if he can take this one, let's just see what happens. If he grabs that pawn, I'm assuming now white is a pawn up at this level. Next pawn is major. That f6 is the idea, attacking these two pieces. And I'm assuming this works. You've got one check here. Doesn't really help. Just go e6, for example. And I think that will just win a piece. So this seems like a very nice move, this knight e4, because it was a battle for that square. You're attacking the bishop. And, okay, I can move the bishop and go f3, but now black does have this idea of f6, getting rid of the knight there. I think black's just about holding the position, but I still prefer white. White seems to have a bit more harmony in the position so far.
Yeah, I think it's getting complicated, which is exactly what we want. So it's going to be very interesting. 4.5 minutes for Sasha, 3 for Paul Porter. In the poker, Peter managing to maintain that 2-1 chip advantage, slowly grinding away. I mean, they don't want to do anything reckless. There's no need. Peter, with the big chip advantage, can really put the pressure on. Now we get a 3-bet by Sasha, and Peter winces at that flop. This is one of those spots. Look at this, Simon, in the poker. The board is Queen Jack 10, and Peter has 9-8 in his hand. So he has what's called the dummy straight. He's got the worst straight possible because Ace King is a better straight and King 9 is a better straight. Not only that, there are diamonds on boards, and the complexion of these boards can change very quickly. For example, the 9 of diamonds. Now Peter's hand is absolutely worthless. If Sasha bets again, he can't continue. A big difference between that and no limit hold'em.
So that's I mean, it looks like Sasha's going to win that hand, right? And it's going to level the chips pretty much. Also, I mean, just going back to the chess, sorry, Loz. I mean, I just realised that, I mean, keep an eye on the poker there. I mean, unless Sasha somehow folds, you can try bluffing as Peter. But in the chess, this knight e4, I mean, the more I think about this, I thought white was doing okay, but it's a bit weird. I mean, can you move the bishop on g5? I mean, you move the bishop on
knight d2.
Because, knight d2. I mean, this is quite complex still because I can go bishop takes h7, but it is the exchange at the end of the day, and I don't think the black king's in too much danger. So just showing a possible line, king h8, I have to move my queen. You get a position like this. Does white have enough compensation? He has some compensation, but maybe he's just losing as well after a move like g6 here. So how did he manage to keep it under control? Well, he did go bishop f4 and knight d2 wasn't played. So there must have been a problem with that previous line. Okay, f6 was played. We just keep with the game. The knight drops back and now e6, resembling a much more sensible position. Any news in the poker?
No, I mean, Sasha did win that last hand, so it's 1,600 to 1,200. This hand here, Peter's got absolutely squadouche. He's got nothing. He's got a pair of aces. They both had nothing. They both had Jack 8 and split the pot. So 2 very weak hands. Very, very close in the poker. Sasha doing a good job to keep it close because he needs to win both, as we know, in order to win today's event. No other result is possible. Otherwise, Peter wins the event.
And Loz, one more question. You mentioned you're doing a bit of boxing training. Are you going to do any chess boxing? Because are you a member of the chess boxing club
I am.
over in
I am.
where are
I
you
am.
living now? You're
I'm in Berlin. Yeah, we just
Berlin.
unfortunately, I say unfortunately, the founder of chess boxing as a sport, he passed away a year ago on Saturday. We had a celebration for him. Rest in peace, Ipa. He was one of my good friends out here. Died very suddenly last year, and it's really something that we want to keep his legacy alive. Will I ever get in the ring? Probably not. Do I enjoy the training?
You're
Yes.
careful about your precious looks.
Not that, mate. I'm 30, in my mid 30s.
Of course,
Unless I'm a heavyweight, so if I get hit badly, a lot of things can go wrong, and I'm already lacking brain cells. So to lack more would be a bit of a problem.
Understandable. Now, I just want to show in the chess, it's getting quite short of time. It seems like the poker is staying in balance pretty much, but there's a moment here. Okay, Grischuk has now taken on c5, and you've got this possibility again where the knight on d2 is stopping that one, but at some point you can take the knight and go knight d2, and it looks much more tempting here. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't play this. I mean, let's have a look. We're keeping an eye on, if you take here, you have to take back, and now knight d2. Is this possible?
Yeah,
King
maybe
here?
queen g6 is probably an issue, right?
Is the issue. And if I take the rook,
go queen
I can take here and go knight g5. This is what I was thinking. But if I take the rook, then queen h5 threatens checkmate. But even here, it's not clear because the knight takes g3. But what about knight takes f3 check and then knight g5? This is the one line I was wondering where you bizarrely trapped the bishop on h7. And you could just be picking that one up and winning a piece. Very strange variation, that one. Is that maybe just winning for black?
That's just winning. That's just no question.
So is this possible when... is it possible that black...
I think what will happen is he'll play bishop f3, gf3, knight... No, I think what would happen is he'll go takes, knight d2, queen d1.
Knight d2, queen d1. Aha, trying to come this way. And
exactly.
now if I take here...
You take on d5 check.
Take on d5.
King h8. You go rook takes f1, and you claim you've got enough compensation
because of the lovely light square bishop, right? And you got b4 coming. Interesting. I mean, still, it seems to me like Peter doesn't want to give away the initiative in this game, right? So he's kept it simple with bishop g6. Okay, still looks reasonably even, this position, I would say, reasonably even. But the time is getting short. And the poker...
Yeah, he's got a lovely hand here. If you look, Simon, he's got the 9-8-7-6. This is called a rundown in poker. That means 4 very connected cards. You can make a lot of straights with 9-8-7-6. It just so happens he completely whiffed the board, except he's got a flush draw, but he's got a very weak flush draw. And Sasha was aggressive pre-flop. So this is for example, in Pold'em, you would call with your flush draw. On this board, you could make a case for folding with such short chips, not being that deep. So now, after this call, if Sasha bets again, you've got nothing to do. You just have to fold. I think Peter is done with the hand anyway. He's not going to try and bluff. And this river, he's literally got 9 high. He's got 9-8 high. You have to use 2 from your hand. So his hand is 9-8, ace, king, king. And all Sasha needs is a 10 or above in his hand. So there's no way Peter can win this hand, basically, unless he tries something outrageous, but it wouldn't make sense. So he's just going to fold. Oh, he nearly clicked the call button by accident there. That would have been funny. So the poker is actually, Sasha has just taken the advantage in chips.
Very slightly. So very even in the poker, but maybe, as the blinds are still relatively low there, but the chess is really heating up now. Yeah. The question is, does rook takes d5 work here? This is something. Has Peter missed this move in the chess? They've only got a minute left each, and does this move work? So the idea is, if it works, it could just be game over. Queen takes, bishop b3. Is it as clear as that? I mean, there is obviously...
Is that on the board?
Some ideas with a knight. He hasn't played it. Did he miss it?
Did he miss rook takes d5? Come on.
Can you... Hang a minute. Sasha. No, I think there was a counterplay. If you go rook takes d5, I think there might be knight takes c... Does that work? Knight takes c3. Sorry?
Rook takes c5, knight b1, bishop b1.
Bishop b1. What? And is there nothing here at all? Doesn't look like it, does it? Was that just a whole piece then? I mean, what can you play? This
just
is
a whole piece.
Let's go back to that one.
it's
'Cause it's a big moment, right? You're here,
Yeah.
and he's gone knight to h4, which is still probably all right. But does rook takes d5? Would that simply end the game? Simple tactic. I mean, you've now got your knight on pre, you've got your queen on pre. Can you go queen there? I doubt it, because the bishop b3. There's going to be some horrible check. So was there nothing there that could have been done? Well, hang on a minute. What about some other knight move? Knight moves just don't work, do they?
No,
they just don't work. So I think this is just winning.
Just a stone cold miss. And talking about winning, in the poker, Peter's got aces. Now, one other thing in Omaha, guys, if you're new to Omaha, aces in Hold'em, as Simon has been saying, loves getting the aces, loves getting the money in the middle with the aces. Best hand. In Omaha, aces are a very vulnerable hand. They are still good, but they're not as good as they are in Hold'em. And a lot of people who make the transition to Omaha overrate the aces massively. So be careful about that. But in this spot here, Peter's got a beautiful hand. He's got aces and deuces, 2 aces and 2 deuces. This deuce normally helps Peter because it counterfeits some 2-pair combinations with King Jack. And this call, and this is a gorgeous river for Peter. Now, when he checks, I'm really surprised he didn't go for a bet there. I think if Sasha had anything, he would have gone all in. He would have donk led, as I said, he would have led into Peter. Sasha, of course, very capable of checking and trapping, even with this stack size. But very surprising not to try to eke a little bit of value there. Felt like a good spot. In the chess, all to play for.
Yeah, I mean let's just have a look at that tactic one more time, because this could have been Sasha's chance. Okay, there's they're all in. A lot of stuff in the poker. Listen, they're all in.
Doesn't really matter. He got in with the 4-4-3-3, Peter. So it's irrelevant what happens in the chess now. Sasha has lost everything.
Okay, he's lost. God, this is bad day for Sasha, and you can see his hand on his head. He's had one. He drew one chess game, and he's lost. This is going to be like Lawrence tomorrow, and he lost everything else. He lost all 3 poker games and 2 chess games. Oh my words. And I mean, let's just have a look. I just want to see if this works. So if we go back to this position, we come up to the current position. It's only the chess going on. There was an opportunity, a knight h4 play, but there was rook takes d5 as a possibility in the chess. And I mean, maybe it wasn't so clear somehow. Maybe you can go queen takes. I'm just going to look at this. And now, obviously, bishop b3. Was there some idea where you could take here and take here? I mean, this is potentially... I'm sure these guys would not miss this. This is, I think, what Black was clearly trying to do when Black's actually got a lot of pieces here. I can't count them that quickly, but he's got enough here, right? He's got loads of pieces for the queen. And this is pointed out by Jack Loans in the chat. So well done there. So this is what they clearly saw. And we get to the current position because they are getting short of time. Peter is the winner. Well done, Peter. But
Pride on the line here.
Pride on the line, right? So can Grishchuk get a result here? He support this. Oh, look at that move.
C8.
Nice move. Yeah.
Gorgeous move.
Yeah.
That's a gorgeous move.
And that took Peter by surprise there.
Yeah, it did.
His reactions on the camera there. He was very shocked to see the knight going there. That's a bad beat move, right? That's when you get a bad beat.
Yeah.
So was Sasha rather unlucky in the poker? Did Peter just get better cards, or did Peter outplay him, you think?
Well, we don't know, because we don't know what Sasha had. It did feel like Peter did hit quite a lot of boards in the poker. Like, he made a lot of sets. He made a lot of quite decent hands. But at the same time, I feel as though Sasha probably... I probably got dealt quite bad cards today, Sasha, but Peter deserved it, and fair play to Peter, you know. And now we have a stone cold draw, basically, in the chess. I mean, 3 versus 3 at this level. Yeah. Rook c7 is good enough. Actually, there's a little bit of it's a little bit awkward because rook c7, rook d7. So he actually does give up the 7th here. So what's the idea after rook d7? Is it to go passive?
I mean, I think white's certainly a little bit better, right? I mean, in rook endings, it's all about the activity of the rooks. Obviously, if Black was able to do something active, he's
going to play rook c2. This is a great move. The idea is after rook takes b7, he wants to go rook e8. and double on the second himself. And the point is, white can't go rook d7 first because rook c1 is actually mate. That's a very important thing to point out, or mate on the next move, I should say. So black, one thing you should do is in rook endings, you have to have active rooks. So even if you don't want to defend passively with rook. So giving up the pawn on b7, excellent idea. Okay, after rook d2, they really are done. He's going to take, go rook f7, and it's going to end in a draw. So they'll find.
I think obviously Sasha was pushing a little bit here, but he's not really got any chance now to. Well, I mean, if anyone's better, it's probably white. No, it's a dead draw. There's no one better now, is there? This is just dead. It's absolute dead.
Dead as a dodo at this level. They're just playing it out because, for whatever reason, they're not interested in this position.
No. White can try something like rook e2. His king's a little bit more centralized than the black king. I mean, if you were playing someone a lot lower rated than you'd try to win this one, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
Just if you want that GM norm, how's your? I mean, we should mention this as well while we see this played out, which is obviously going to be a draw unless something tremendous happens. But Lawrence has been very vocal about going for the Grandmaster title, and he's a very strong international master and could easily get the title. And when COVID is dying down, you still going for it, Loz? Have you got many bets on the line with that one?
Not too many bets. A few people have reached out for action, but very small. I am looking for much bigger action. So my bet is this, and some finer terms have to be agreed, but basically I think I'll get the Grandmaster title in 2 years, starting from my first tournament game back. And I'm looking for somewhere in the region of 4 to 4.5 to 1 to make the bet. So if you don't think I've got a chance, it means that for you have to lay me 4.5 to 1. So you have to offer 4.5 units to my 1 unit, basically. So if you bet 4,500, you would only get 1,000 back, basically. So 4.5 to 1. That's what I'm looking for. I had a few people reach out, think I've got no shot of getting it in 2 years. I think I do. If you don't think I have got a shot, and you're rich, feel free to hit me up and we can discuss some finer terms, some COVID clauses and that sort of stuff. But basically, I'm getting vaccinated.
So do you need all your, how many GM norms have you got?
I've got 2 Grandmaster norms. So I need 1 Grandmaster norm and 100 rating points in 2 years.
So the rating points are probably the hard one. I mean, just to let everyone know, to become a Grandmaster, you have to perform over 2,600 in 3 international events, and you have to play 3 Grandmasters in those events and a mix of nationalities. And you have to get your rating above 2,500. So it's not easy getting 100 points. You're going to have to make sure. I know what you're like, Loz. You might go on tilt when you lose a game and the rating points will just flood out your pockets. You've got to avoid the tilting, right? That's got to be the key.
Yeah, that's something I've been working on a lot. It's actually helped me a lot with my poker, because I do play semi-professionally. I mean, pretty professionally, actually. I mean, what am I talking about? I'm playing every day as well, grinding cash. So yeah, that's helped me a lot. So no tilt, doing proper work. And as soon as I have everything in order and I know where I want to go, I'm going to start putting in the serious work. So 2 years, 100 points, 1 norm. Here we go. If you think I've got no chance at all. If you don't think I'm if you think a 20 or 25% chance for me is impossible, you can reach me at my Twitter address @LawrenceIM. I am looking for big action. And when I'm talking about big, I'm not talking about, 100 quid. I'm talking about put your money where your mouth is, son. Let's see what you got.
Now, back to the chess, people saying good luck. Again, of course, this is a draw. I mean, just this is quite easy to still lose these endings, especially again, if you're playing these 2 players, you'd have to be really, really careful. And just a couple of principles you need to know in these rook endings. And it is, as we saw earlier on, the activity of the rook is just so key. And after rook here, it's a little bit dangerous for black, because this rook might get squeezed over here, and white has an idea of putting the king on d4, and then the rook can't keep on this. It can't keep defense of the pawn,
But
so it's a little bit careful.
It's easy, right? Because when I go king h6, just to explain, if you go king h6, let's say you go king e3, and I just for example say I go king g6. If you go king d4, I go rook c4 check.
Rook c4.
Then you have to come back.
Yeah.
And then I can put the rook on b4. And now this is much easier because I cut your king and I actually win the pawn.
And you've activated
actually I can play for a win and so
you can.
Yeah.
So I have to be a little bit careful how I do it. I mean, let's see what happens. I mean, I expect they're going to repeat the position. They've had it once. Yeah. Is there any way white can try to do something here? Well, the other thing I can try to do is go b4 at the right time. I mean, let's just say that I played for example, b4, and now you played the mistake of going passive, which no good player would do. They give you a check. But if you did go passive, and this shows you why you should never go passive in the rook ending. Now this idea works, of course, because I'm gonna pick up that pawn. So never go passive if you've got an alternative in the rook ending. Going back to the game, f5 played. You want to keep pieces on the board if you're trying to win. g5 on the board, and again, it should be a draw, but there's another slight problem here. If g6 comes, the black king's in a little problem. So it is a draw, but white's like a little bit pushing here, Lost, would you say? I think he's
I mean,
a little bit.
Let's put it this way. If Peter loses his ending, I'm going to let him know about it privately. Let's put it like that. I'll say, I might send him one of my Dvoretsky books just so he can have a little, review some of his old notes, because he should never, ever, 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 ever lose that ending under any circumstances. And
it's getting, you know what? This is getting a little bit dicey.
A little out of hand, yeah.
Because you can now maybe win a pawn, and he has. I mean, this one is probably a draw if you go for the g6 pawn. But let's just show why this could win a pawn. You go rook here. I can check your king, take here, and we get this ending, which even here I'd imagine is a draw. But it's not simple because you are of course a pawn down. You don't want to go a pawn down, but he is going for this. I think this is much safer again than trying to hold on to your pawns here, because all of a sudden there's going to be some major threats against your king. So he's trying to liquidate. Let's have a look how it went in that last variation, g6. And he is trying to liquidate after this move. And now we have this position, which should be a draw, but you are a pawn down, and there's a simple plan here, king and pawn. Get your rook behind the pawn. We were talking about the rook activity, and the black rook should always be behind your opponent's passed pawn. So so there you go. By the way, you do have someone, the champ 5, Loz, saying, would you do 2.5 to 1?
Well, probably not, no, because if I've got to be consistent with everybody else that's already wagered, right? But I'll
just do it in private, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do it in private. Of course, we do not condone this sort of wagering on this channel. This is my private business. Yeah. All right, rook c1 check. But yeah, this is by no means
not so easy.
Draw. No, I mean, it'll be sick if he loses this, Peter. Actually.
Well, I mean, he's won the whole thing, but it would at least Sasha will have some he'll have some bragging rights, won't he? If white, let's just go back to the position here. Yeah. It was this ending, and it was a little bit easier for white to play because white's king is more centralized, and the rook is a little bit better. And the first thing that maybe went wrong, this is a very clever idea, trying to induce a weakness. And the first thing that went wrong here was that black's rook becomes the least active rook. But back to the position, and now can you win this one? Why did he go just in this position? Why didn't he go king b6? King b6 here.
Not completely sure is the honest answer.
Okay, well,
maybe rook. I got an idea. He wants to go rook c4, b5, and now king e6, and now claim that the pawn on f4. Yeah, you're just in time. Rook f8, king e7 being the key idea.
Yeah, I'm still a bit of work to do after kick rook g5, but he's gone
for f6.
Okay, king f6. Aha, you keep chasing it.
Yeah.
And then rook g4. Okay, maybe, but yeah, it probably was a draw. But he's gone for a line where he's now transferred his rook, which actually makes a lot more sense, to a much better square, because you want to give your rook as much room as you can, and it's got all of these squares now. And the winning plan is quite simple, right? You put your rook on c4, your king there, and you push and your queen.
Exactly.
Is this just winning? Maybe this is just winning. Bizarrely enough.
Yeah, this looks very bad. The rook's in a
it's
perfect
winning.
position.
Yeah.
The king gets to c6. I think this is just toast. Rook d1, king c6.
And then just push.
And just he goes rook d4. Also possible, of course.
Also good.
Also good. Also important that rook takes d4, king takes d4 doesn't work, guys. You're just in time because king takes f4, b5, g5, b6, g4, b7, g3. Now, and b8
well
is
in
queen.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So easy win.
Yeah.
So yeah, after rook d4, basically, yeah, and Peter resigns. Now I'm going to just put something out there. He's going to be disgusted with himself for losing that. That is going to upset him more than everything else that's happened today. Even though he's won the tournament, he's going to be really upset. Yeah, he's going to be super upset to lose that ending. Yeah,
I mean, let's just have a look at that because I mean, it's one of those endings where again you assume lots of, and this maybe happens too much at high level. People just shake hands. But it'd be nice. It'd be nice if they had to, play it out a little bit, wouldn't it? These endings. And where did Black really go wrong here? I mean, H5 seems okay.
Sorry to bother quickly.
Yes.
The players are in the other call waiting for you. If you want to
join the other call.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. We have concluded tonight's events, and it is Paul Borter, Mr. Peter's Fiddler, who is the victor, though I imagine with a slightly bitter taste in his mouth after losing that ending.
No, I mean, there's so much material for inside jokes in this match. I was like cackling like an idiot because, the experience of running well against Sasha is something I am familiar with, and Sasha also probably can remember one or two times over the course of our careers when I ran well against him in important spots. But yeah, like I won the match because I won the poker, and I won the poker because I hit absolutely every draw. So it's
that helps.
Yeah, when you run like I ran in these three SNGs, you just like, it's very difficult to lose.
Right. And what about you, Sasha? How did you because we only saw the whole cards of Peter, and we were like, okay, he's got there, he's semi bluffing and getting there, and he's hitting sets and getting. Did you feel like you just got a bad distribution of cards today?
No, first of all, congratulations to Peter. I think he played extremely well, never giving me a chance to win one game in any game, until the last chess game. Of course, this hand with 8-7 offsuit against my King 9 kind of set the tone for the
very much
poker part. Yes, that was kind of unfortunate, but it's okay. It's okay.
Did you enjoy the format? Did you prefer playing the chess separately, or did you enjoy the last one where you were playing the poker?
No, I especially enjoyed the last one when it's played simultaneously.
Yeah, I
was
looking forward to that so much. It was
Yeah. This is great.
And 960, that was a good one to mix it up a little bit.
As well. Yeah.
Kind of mind breaking a little bit, but also immensely fun.
Yeah. Next time we're gonna do it cash, $1,000, $2,000 blinds, just so you know. So hope you're ready for that. A bit more on the line there.
Is that what we're doing tomorrow, Lawrence?
Yeah, that's what we're doing tomorrow.
Okay.
So
okay, good.
I hopefully you can't hear those police sirens. That's not for me. I'm legal here now.
That's what somebody who has police sirens after him would say.
So I mean, we got a lot of people watching, a lot of people obviously curious. Perhaps both of you can very quickly tell us, you both have a love for each game. How do you see the games as a kind of hybrid, or morphing them together in such a format? Tell us your general impressions about mixing the two games, basically.
No, I love both games. I think those are two of the very best board games that humans ever invented. But honestly, mixing is very difficult because you need two people who are very close in chess skills. Because if someone is much stronger in chess, it's pretty much impossible to overcome it in poker, and vice versa. If you are much weaker in chess, you just don't have a shot.
Right. And Peter?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I kind of agree with what Sasha said. But yeah, for me, the multi-gaming, I've probably done more multi-gaming of most people who have. That explains my results in most games, actually, the amount of multi-gaming I've done. But
Peter, you like many different games, is that right?
Yeah, but like in particular, trying to play all of them at the same time is something I've definitely tried over the course of my career with, let's call them mixed success. But the format is interesting. I don't know how fun it is to watch, but it definitely is a very fun format to play, and I will watch at least some of the other matchups with curiosity.
I mean, we've got a full week of this, guys, and we've got actual poker professionals as well playing later in the week. Some party poker representatives, I believe, are playing. Tomorrow it's me against the Ginger GM himself, the one and only. I'm going to give him a schooling at the chess, and I'm going to give him a battering at the poker. It's going to be beautiful. Maybe not, but we'll see. And yeah, as I say, you've got the full list of events on, if you go to the Chess24 news page and just click the Battle of the Minds item, you'll be able to see who is playing. It's right the way through the week until Saturday. So loads of chess, loads of poker. I think everybody enjoyed it. Simon, I enjoyed commentating with you. It was something completely novel for us to do chess and poker at the same time. And because it was so close, it made it even more fun, really. It was close till the end.
It was great. It was great fun. And yeah, two great players of both games, and an average commentator to do it with. Perfect. So no, only joking, Loz. It was lovely. So and I look forward to our little challenge tomorrow. All a lot of fun. So yeah.
All right. I think then that's probably about it. Thanks so much to Peter, to Sasha, to Simon, to all the team as well. Thanks to Ayelen and Alexandra for helping put this together, and of course Party Poker, who this is being done in cooperation with. Plenty more to come tomorrow, and I'll be sharpening up my Harry the H pawn activities a bit later. I'm gonna be throwing.
I've really enjoyed playing that line against Sasha. And
it was so much fun to watch you play.
Not equalizing with white as well, which I think is very much on brand.
It's good to see you push out the board.
I had a chuckle playing this specific King's Indian against Sasha in the first game.
It was nice to see. So.
Brilliant. All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody as well on Twitch, on YouTube, wherever you were watching. Remember to become a premium member as well before you go. All of the things I mentioned before. You want to become a better chess player? Become a premium member of Chess24. I've got nothing else unless you have, Simon.
No, just thank you, everyone. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow.
All right.
Yes,
cheers, guys.
Thank you, everyone. And good luck to both of you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.
Cheers.
And
thanks,
congratulations once again, Peter.
Congrats, Peter. Well done.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.